Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 finale of Dandadan. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off. Once again, kaiju, space kaiju versus giant robot. But the problem is no one on the ship, well, in the robot knows how to pilot it. And it's like, all right, I guess we'll all just pick a random button and press it at the same time. They do, and then all of a sudden, the left arm blows off, and then Okarun is flying, ejected. So I was like, cool, that didn't work. And then it seemed like, oh, maybe this is a bipedal thing because Kenta tries to start moving it, but he ends up falling flat on his face. And it's like, and then the kaiju proceeds to beat the ever-living crap out of them. I was almost halfway expecting like Okarun to run back in his like Turbo Granny form. He didn't. Because once again, I mean, he still hasn't fully recovered after his last like full throttle to save Ira. So like he doesn't have it in him to transform again. So he's kind of out of the fight. You can't count on Evil Eye. And Ken's in this very complicated space. He was almost about to break the rule because it's like, right, he doesn't want Evil Eye to fight because the whole point of creating this deal was so that Evil Eye will focus on him. But it's like, if I let him fight, he's going to think it's okay to fight other people. And that's just going to be a whole shenanigan-filled situation. It's like, it took a lot to convince him not to do that. So do I undo all that? But I have to because Momo and the others are stuck in this robot that is getting constantly pelted by the kaiju. And Ken is worried. I mean, also, you got to give it up to just show you how stupidly strong Evil Eye is. I mean, he went full Superman from the most recent Superman movie. Spoilers. Literally holding up a kaiju's foot like that. Obviously, these were in productions at different time, but it's just kind of like funny in the same year we get kind of a similar shot. But yeah, like for him to lift it up and push it and knock it off its balance, it's like, wow, you realize just how crazy strong he is. So you also got to admit that also shows you like how powerful Okarun is. Like the fact is he could kick Evil Eye and block his like fist with a kick. You know, that shows you just like how strong, like, well, for one, Turbo Granny's powers are in conjunction with just how strong Ken's legs are when he's in that form. So it obviously adds even more like, holy crap, like for that win, to have that win that he did. But either way, before Ken can like break that deal they had, luckily Kenta goes, right, this thing is built around my mind, so if I want to move it and orchestrate it the way I want to, all I got to do is think about it, visualize it. And I love that he cuts out Momo and Ira, because I love that. I'm like, is this just going to be a Kenta fight? Because Ira and Momo aren't doing anything, but they do later on. But I was like, oh, like Ken is outside of the robot, so is Evil Eye. So I'm like, wow, is this going to be Kenta soloing this fight? And he transformed it, has like a golden form and everything. Also love that it's got the shades on it. Little interesting thing I didn't think about. I was watching something when they originally were rebuilding the house with the in episode, was that 9, with the nanoskin. Momo, when she got the nanoskin, and Peeny Weenie was like, oh, like what you need to do is visualize something. What was the thing she visualized? It was a small Buddha. It's like, oh, okay. So that's why it was probably even fresher in her mind about it, because that was like the first thing that she made with the nanoskin. So I think that was supposed to be like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge foreshadowing this. I didn't even realize that until I was watching a clip from that episode, and I was like, wait. I was like, oh, that's funny. Like, so I wish I remembered that last episode, but just kind of wanted to include that as well. But yeah, like I said, Kenta kind of soloing this. He turned the tides. Even when he lost his arm, freaking throwing it, saying rocket punch, is able to grab it, reconnect it, and everything. So the power of that nano skin is insane. I mean, it just eternally regenerating. So gives you massive benefits. I mean, I think even that regeneration does have its limits, as we see later on. But you got to give it to Kenta, like laying into blows, getting grab of this thing, flying towards it, punching it, like the battle going from like outskirts of the city back into the city. It's actually pretty dope what Kenta was able to kind of do. Like I said, all intents and purposes, soloing it. And then we also get a little backstory from Kenta when he's like, on the losing end. His glasses get broken, and I can't remember if it was after. I think it was after the big blow, but like when he did that spinning technique from the air and like struck it, and before it went invisible, but it started beating on him, and he had his glasses were cracked on the inside, but he has his spares in his jacket pocket. But we got the backstory of just kind of like how Ken, it was humiliated, Obviously, there's a lot of parallels between Kenta and Ken, where Ken was bullied by people, and the only people he wanted to be friends with aliens because, humans didn't treat him well, and so he thought like things would be different. Obviously, that changed the moment he met Momo, and I think Kenta's going to have a similar storyline, because for Kenta, it's like he was ridiculed by people because he would bring like toy sets there, and because he was a big robot guy, and people ridiculed him. But for him, it's like, I don't care. Like, I've dreamed of this. He's like, I physically prepared myself. I went on so many different rides, all for the purpose of believing that one day I would pilot a robot so that I won't have to be motion sick. And it's actually really uplifting and powerful. And you're like, yeah, Kenta, you get it. You live your dream. Ken has been able to live his dream by meeting all these aliens, and in fact becoming friends with aliens. Not all the aliens he's met have been bad guys. Started off as enemies with Peeny Weeny, but now you call him a friend and ally. So it's beautiful stuff like that. But, and now Kenta's having his moment to shine too, and it's actually really beautiful, and you're like, yeah, Kenta, you do your thing, man. But obviously, like, the fight does not go his way, and he starts getting his ass whooped. But then we start seeing that the robot reacts to Momo and Ira's abilities. So she's first using her power, and then Ira wraps it up in her hair, and Kenta's like, right, you let me handle this. They're like, nope, you don't do any more moving because you're making us motion sick, because you're prepared for the motion sickness, we're not. So it's not only did Kenta like shut down all communications with them, they've basically been hurling and probably sick to their stomachs the entire time we couldn't hear them. But you had that beautiful thing of like Momo's hands along with Ira's hair sends him flying in the air, and they're basically like spinning it like crazy. It's like, wait, you don't punch a kaiju. How you beat it is a power bomb, and brought it down super heavy. I was like, yeah! It would have been pretty dope if everyone was involved, considering that what the future could hold if that situation ever arises where they need to go super robot again. But knowing like, right, they could utilize Turbo Granny's powers, maybe Evil Eyes. I don't know how that would work. Like, would Gigi be able to like stay Gigi and utilize Evil Eye's powers through the robot, or would he need to be in his Evil Eye form to do it? I mean, Ira did have to transform for the power to connect, and the same thing for It'll probably have to be Evil Eye, and like Ken will probably have to be in his Turbo Granny form for those powers to activate. But either way, and in that moment got victory, and then they snap back to reality, and it's like, crap, it's a giant robot out and about. Obviously, Ken's been getting a little bit more attention at school. I'm curious if we're going to find out, like, now that, like, oh my god, someone was like, oh my god, it's a you, like, because Momo panicked, and she was like, right, we need to get out of here. So she transformed the robot into a UFO, and someone was like, oh my god, it's a UFO. Another person was like, no, it's a UAP, which I was like, even Momo's friends were like, hey, yo, like, because of the whole thing that went down at the village in the first part of the season, they were like, oh my god, look at this alien spaceship. Like, aren't you into that type of stuff, Momo and Okuda? So that's just going to spread even more now that, like, oh, there's going to be pictures of it, even the kaiju. So, and because it was a giant robot, maybe people won't give Kenta as much crap for being into this stuff. In fact, people might try to approach him because of it. Maybe, maybe not. Might make him and Ken a little bit more popular. Ken's definitely on the up and up popularity-wise, obviously. We've seen that only because, like, the class prez had started paying more attention to him. But I'm curious, like, we haven't seen the rest of the class really pay attention to him, but that might be changing going forward too. So either way, Momo, Kenta, and Ira go, like, transform into a UFO, head back to where the house is supposed to be, land it, but granted, it's Momo trying to fix it, so it's still part robot, part house. and then her and Ira go off to throw up. Also, I love the animation of when Momo's running to like I think her room to try and throw up, but the house is like such a mishmash. It's literally like a mangled mess because all the different parts. So you even see like a giant pair of glasses inside the house. It's amazing. And then like the sound of her throwing up, it was almost like I can't mimic it. I was like, that's such a beautiful way to like the audio for that. Then we cut back to see what Ken and Evil Eye were up to. Ken's seeing all this firsthand. There's all these pictures being taken. It's like, oh, he got left behind when the ship went off. But then, oh, the kaiju's still here. There's all these pictures. He's like, wait, where's Evil Eye? And he's climbing the top of something. He's like, yo, get down. He's like, no, you're telling me what I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not listening to you anymore. Because he's just like, I'm tired of being told what. It's like, oh, God, what do I do? And so Ken went and got something hot. He's like, hey, eat this. Came down, ate it, and yeah, we got Gigi back. Granted, Gigi doesn't share Evil Eye's memories, so he has no idea what happened. So you're like, well, it's like, cool, let's just grab this kaiju and take off. And I love that sequence so much because while they're doing it, like, I love that every time you cut, like, to the next sequence of that, there's less people chasing them every time. Until you get that one last person who's got, like, the selfie stick or whatever, the longer tripod stick, and they just finally, especially because they're fairly close to like Momo's house, and I love that. Just like while Ken and Gigi are having this conversation about like aliens and like kind of like are they carnivorous, and it's like, oh, this ferocious, that whole bit, and just like if you pay attention, there's less and less people following every time. So I think you should also take note of that too, of like, it's impressive because that shows you how much Ken's working out has helped out. Like the fact is he was able to run all that way helping Gigi carry a giant kaiju. I mean, granted, it's not giant, but still the thing's pretty heavy for both of them just to be, and I mean, once again, Gigi's the athletic specimen that he is, but like you got to give it up to Ken that like his stamina and strength has increased too. I think that's supposed to be like a little nod. The fact is they ran all the way from the city carrying this thing pretty nicely. I mean, both of them like are exhausted by the end, but you got to give them credit. And then when they came to, it's like, cool, that's all settled. We made it. Ha ha ha. Everything's great. And then Kenta comes out complaining about like them being useless. They did nothing. And I love that, Ken is telling him like, oh, congratulations. That was so amazing what you did. He was, that was easy. And, I mean, the funny thing is they did do nothing during the fight. It was kind of mainly Kenta, but obviously Ira and Momo came in for the kill. So we have that whole situation, and Ken's kind of explaining everything. It's like, he's like, oh, because Kenta's like, oh, are you fighting to protect the world from kaiju? It's like, not really. We're after a golden ball, but then like yokai and aliens are after it. He's like, oh, so this ball must be that important. He's like, well, honestly, not really. Because it's not, I mean, sure, they're taking advantage of it, but really it's just one of my, he doesn't really go into it, but it's like, I mean, it's just one of my testicles. And I think there's almost meant to be this meta element to it of like, it isn't some like all-powerful item that's going to change the world. It's just like, yo, Ken has just been tracking down his other testicle. That's all it really comes down to, interestingly enough. So I was almost wondering, like, he's got it back. I mean, granted, we know how he's got to put it back in his body. If we remember season 1, how they had to literally pitch it back into his body. I'm sure he's not going to be looking forward to that, but at least he'll have his other testicle back. But with that all said and done, though, comes a conversation of like, I was worried because I'm like, are we going to find out this thing doesn't have it? I mean, I assume it does. And he was reaching in its mouth, and I was like, it did seem like for a second like there was something you could see on the inside. I was like, what is that? I thought I saw something that wasn't the golden ball on the inside, and I was like, what is it? And they're like, oh, is that human body in there? I'm like, what? And then Ken's like, well, it's my golden testicle, so I should do it. I love the entire time Kenta's talking shit to Gigi. And Gigi's like, almost like, because he says something and Gigi's like, oh man, he's totally right, or something like that. And just talking about how cool Kenta is. But I think Kenta's like dismissive of him because he's got so much trauma from like handsome, pretty people looking down upon him. And so he has an issue against all pretty people, unless they're girls. But handsome guys, he holds a lot of issues with. And he also has issues with Ken because it's like, yo, you're a nobody. You're kind of like me, yet you are popular with the ladies. How the hell did you do that? Either way, it turns out the kaiju thing is a zipper. And I was like, wait, it's actually a suit? It's like, well, I mean, I guess it's like an alien suit. I was like, I guess that kind of makes sense. Unzip it. Hey, there's a cute alien girl in there. And just Ken's looking, she's looking at Ken. I was like, oh, Momo and Ira probably aren't going to be too happy when they come out. And it's like a cute, oh, it's worse than I thought because the alien is kissing Ken. And then Momo's just kind of freaking out. I don't think we saw Ira's reaction though. But in that moment, Momo like is squeezing part of like the skin, nano skin for the house, and it kind of like blows up. It's mirroring the end of episode 1 of season 1, where the Serpo's ship exploded behind her, just because that was like the big revelation when she found out Okuru's real name being Ken, and you know her connection to Ken, and then like now this, it's like. Well, because him and Ira have never kissed, she thought they were about to and nothing happened. Now this is her literally seeing him kissing someone else. So that's going to be a whole laundry list of issues. But also, you know, Ira's going to be pissed off as well. But poor Momo, that's so devastating. Because, like, to be fair too, they haven't kissed. Yeah, they clicked teeth and their lips met a little bit. Mainly, you know, teeth clicking. But they've never, like, purposely kiss, especially with like the progress they've made this season, that they definitely have gotten closer and like they've both come to terms with how they feel about each other. They just haven't expressed it yet. For that to be the big like block in a row, especially because it's like, well, you know, Ken's into like aliens and stuff like that, and now it's a cute alien girl kissing him. It's like everything that could go wrong in that moment went wrong, and that's where we ended. I was like, that's a hell of a way to wrap up the season. Oh, that's so good. But the thing I'd heard, and I could see this being a precursor to it, was supposed to be like the next chunk of the story is about an alien invasion. It's kind of coming. I don't know if like, this was kind of like the opening volley. I don't know if this girl was sent to be like a scout to check things out, and maybe she stumbled across the golden ball. I wonder if we're going to find out, did the golden ball like supercharge her, suit, and it went like, maybe she's been out of control this entire time and then like the suit's just been acting on its own, or has that been her piloting it the entire time? Like the fact is it even grew into a giant kaiju makes me wonder, like maybe when they like, maybe Ken knocked her out in episode 10, and ever since then she's been unconscious, and like I said, that's just a golden ball making that suit stronger, and so maybe she's been knocked out the entire time. We'd have to wait to kind of find out. So the sad thing that comes with obviously this being the end is two things being, we'll sadly never hear the opening. This is our last time hearing the second opening and ending in the context of the show. Obviously you can listen to the songs outside of that. The only one I've heard all the way through a few times was I believe isn't her name, I think is it Ina or Ida? I can't remember. It might be Ina. The End is the name of the singer for the opening. I don't think I've talked about that at all season. Like I really like that opening. I also like the ending too. But like, cause like the vocalist, like the singer, she has like a really unique like tone to her voice when she sings that song. But I mean, they're both great and catchy songs. But it's also kind of sad being like, just like season 1's like, the last time we'll hear these. Like I said, once again, in the context of the show. So, obviously, there's way more story to go. The manga is still ongoing, I believe. Based on Wikipedia, it is currently up to 20 published volumes. Once again, that's not including any loose chapters that haven't been put into a 21st volume yet, but still ongoing. So, at the time of me recording this episode, just came out. There is no official announcement for season 3, but the director for the anime has talked about apparently already has stuff planned out for a 3rd season, and also has apparently talked about a specific arc he's very excited to get to. What I was also reading, once again, take this with a grain of salt, was there was apparently a well-known leaker that kind of leaked that an 3rd season is already like confirmed, and I don't know if they've already started production on it, because another element to this is Science Saru is like the main animation studio behind this, has like other stuff they're working on too. So I don't know how animation studios handle it. I know how video game studios and obviously movie studios handle stuff, but like I don't know if anime studios handle things the same way, where it's like they have different production teams. So like certain animators are dedicated to Dandadan, other animators are dedicated to other stuff, or are the people who animate the specific animators for Dandadan also being put on other projects at the same time? Because Science Saru obviously is like, I think, in high demand with some of the stuff they've got like listed for them, but that's I don't know enough about anime studios and like how that whole thing operates. So they might be tied up with other stuff and might not get to Dandadan immediately. Like I said, that depends on just how the stuff works for them, but there is plenty more story to tell. Based on what I Googled and looking into it myself, we're roughly in the middle of volume 8. Where this season ends is roughly chapter 72, and I'm basing that on looking through the chapter titles on Wikipedia for the chapters of the manga. So we're roughly around chapter 72. In case you're curious, I'm like, oh, I don't know if we're going to get a third season, and I don't want to have to wait that long for a season 3, so you want to just go ahead and continue the story. Roughly around chapter 72, it will be kind of a good starting off point, basically. Somewhere in that 72 to 75 is the range I saw, but I do believe 72 is like right after the robot kaiju fight, but I could be mistaken. 72, 73, somewhere along that lane, I think. So, obviously, I think this series is hella popular, so I hope we get a season 3, and I'm very optimistic about us getting one. So I think we will get a third season. Granted, it will probably be a while. I think by the time season 1 came out, they were already pretty deep in production on season 2. That's why we got it so quickly. It was like 6-7 months at most in between season 1 and season 2. We're not going to be that point. It's going to probably be not, if we get anything, it might not be until like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not like 2 years from now or something like that, because it seems like the gap between seasons of animes tend to be getting longer and longer, just with the amount of time and animation put into it. Animation in general takes a lot of time, but the way they go nuts with the animation in a show, it makes a lot of sense why it will take even longer. So if we are getting a third season, like I said, I'm more optimistic of it, but it's like I said, nothing's been confirmed. But even if we do get one, it will probably sadly won't be until 2027. If we can get it next year, even if it's late next year, I'll be hella surprised. It'd be kind of neat if they were able to do kind of a back-to-back, kind of like they did with season 1 and 2. If we can get like season 3 to come out, and then like maybe if they're pretty deep into season 4, potentially get that pretty quickly, like kind of similar to season 1 and season 2. So, but whatever the case may be, like I said, hopeful for more seasons of the show, because oh my god, I love this series. This series I went into this knowing nothing about, and it has easily worked its way up to being one of my favorite animes and my favorite stories in general. One of my favorite romances in fiction too, because it's like the Momo Ken stuff is so good. Something else I had heard was like, apparently like as the series progresses, you get and meet more characters, so like it becomes less about like our character state. The way people describe it almost makes it sound like this kind of has a Naruto approach, where like Naruto takes a back burner, and like as the series progresses, especially when you get into like the Shippuden storylines, but even in that point in the manga as well, that it becomes more about the other characters, side characters become more like of the focus, and Naruto takes a slight bet. It feels like apparently that's how Dandadan works. Like our core cast, specifically like maybe Ken, Momo, Ira, and Gigi, kind of take a step back because there's such a large cast of like main characters, and I think this alien who's inside of the kaiju is going to be one of those. So that's based on what I heard. Once again, having never read the manga, I don't know how true that is. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. But I'm excited to learn more about these other characters, spend more time with Kenta, more about him and this alien girl, but also just continue the storyline between like the complicated love triangle that might now turn into, well, it pseudo became a love square because of the whole GG of it all, but now it's turning into a love pentagon because now there's an alien, but we don't know where she stands in all of this. Like, she might not continue to feel the way she did about Ken. Oh, it sucks being popular. But yes, I've run my mouth off long enough. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.